Hi everyone, I'm Phyllis and I'm the owner of Mad Moody Quilting Fabrics. This is our last episode in the tutorial on how to applique. This is the block that we've been appliquing and this is the finished block. But there's a few more things that I want to do on the one that I have been doing for this particular series. So as you see from the last filming I did to this one, I have now completed this flower except for the circle because I want to show you how to do those circles one more time. And this one is partially completed. I will not be completing this because I think we have covered quite a bit of this information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I do my circle, and I'm going to sew this piece, get this piece ready to go, and I'm going to get out my thread, and I'm going to get out my needle pin cushion, and I got little diamonds for pins, pins for diamonds, and I'm going to get my thimble out. So I'm ready to go and sew this piece down. Now I just got to find the right thread to do this, and I think this is the one. I think. Let me see. Yeah, I think that would do it. Let me just double check. This one too would do it. You know what? I think I will go with the lighter of the two. Maybe not. Oh, decisions. Alright, so I think what I'll do is I'll just use this one. And alright, so I'm going to show you again how we do one more time. And then I'm going to show you how I place the last 4 petals on, and you would have enough to complete this block once I've shown you this, because I've shown it to you a couple of times on how to get around a corner, how to do the petals, but I want you to see how they're placed also. So now I'm going to start here, but I'm going to get this ready to prep. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to trim. Let me see if I can bring this up a little closer. There we go. So this point I want to I got the pin in my mouth. So it's kind of hard to talk with the pin in your mouth. All right, so I want to trim this point off because it's just going to get in the way and I really don't need it. So there we go. That's gone. Now I'm going to start here and I'm going to get my needle placed. I'm just going to take a little chunk of the orange. Now, as you see that I took my thread, I matched it, I chose a thread that will blend with the fabric that I'm appliquing down. You always match to the piece that you're appliquing down for your thread. Alright, so let me do that one more time because I was talking about something else. So I want to fold this part here. I want to fold this part here like this. Okay, so I folded the tip under. And then I'm going to take that side and fold it under all the way. And then I'm going to go ahead and applique to the point. And I don't think I started far enough down because I really need to make sure that I have these pieces, but I'll check when I finish, and if I have to go back and thread the needle and sew a little bit on either side to make sure that I'm covering the raw edges, because I'm not going to sew the whole thing down, because this section here is going to be covered with a circle and with other petals, obviously, which I'll show you how I place them. So now I've got my thread at the point, and I'm going to turn this under and then continue down the other side. Oopity. There we go. And I'm just going to continue till I feel like my raw edges will be covered with the next petal. And of course, to get it covered enough. Okay, I think that's far enough. I just got to check the other side, because I don't think I start it far enough down the side. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to tie this off. Make sure that I tie off under the petal so we don't see the tie off in the background. One more, and I'll pass my needle through the loop just to secure it a little bit more, and then I'm going to cut a little bit. Okay, now I just want to check. I'm going to take this piece off, and I think I'm okay. That petal's going to cover. So now the next thing I need to do is I need to get out my my long tweezers, and I have my circles here, and I have the last petals that will have to go on. So this flower and this flower are the same, and as you can see, I've put the petals here. I'm going to show you how to put these last 4 petals on and make sure that everything gets covered, and I'm hoping that this is going to get covered. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the petals on here, okay? Just going to move this up so it's in the frame. All right, so I have the last petals to do. And here we go. So I'm going to take this petal and I'm going to slide it under here. These applique needles are quite small, so sometimes they're hard to work with. So that's all covered nicely. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the next one done. This one seems to be giving me a little bit of, there, that's better. That I like. It's not perfect, but what flower in nature is really perfect? Not many of them. Okay. There we go. And we have 2 more petals to place. Now this one I want to make sure it covers the raw edge, the raw corners of not only the 2 petals that I have underneath, but also the 2 leaves. And we have one more petal to put on. There we go. So now when you sew these petals down, you have to make sure that you start far enough down on these curves so the circle that we're going to put on top is going to cover that raw edge. Okay, because we're not going to sew all the way around. It's not necessary. You can sew, but just make sure you sew far enough down to cover the raw edge. Okay, and you might have to this one I think I'm going to readjust because it's not quite there. But mind you, if you're sewing down here and you're sewing down there, you just got to go far enough past this. But I think I'm going to move this one down just a little bit, because I want to make sure that my circle covers I want to make sure that my circle covers whatever raw edges that I do not sew, because the last thing to go on is the circles. Now, see, that's looking way better. This one I might, when I go in and sew after I've sewn these, I might push this one down just a little bit also, but I don't know if you can, yeah, you can kind of see it. So the circle's going to cover those raw edges. So all you have to do is sew. You have to sew far enough past this line around the curve so it's underneath. You're going to start sewing so the circle is covering your start knots and everything. So I hope that makes a difference. Let me show you on this one. So I've come down, and this is raw. I don't care about all this because this is all going to be covered with a circle. So if I go and put my circle in there, see how it covers the edge? It covers all the edges that have not been turned and sewn. It doesn't, you don't have to sew everything. If it's covered, don't worry about it. So now we're going to prep, and I just got to decide, I think, okay, so I'm going to prep this circle. So the first thing I'm going to do to prep this is I'm going to cut just over 1/4 inch. I have a tendency to cut more than 1/4 inch. Other people will cut a little less. And I just like to have my edges a little fatter feeling. So then that's it. Now this is freezer paper. This is the good side of the fabric. This is cardstock, and I want to put the cardstock inside. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I need to find my needle. Oh, bejibbies! Where did I put the needle? Oh, there it is. So I think this is not dark enough, so of thread. No, it's a little light, so I don't know if you saw that. It's a little light. This one's a little bit better. This thread would work there. So I think I'm going to hold, because this thread also will work fine with these petals. So I'm going to just put this needle aside, and I have another freed one up here, and I'm going to match. I'm going to take that darker orange that I had out earlier, and I'm going to match. That looks good. So the first thing we're going to do is match our thread after we've cut a little more. I cut a little more than a 1/4 inch, and you'll see why in a minute, why I want a little more. And here, I just got to thread this. See if I can do it. Nope, I can't. Let me just trim this a little bit better. And there we go. All right, so it's done. So we're gonna knot this thread up. I'm gonna take this and put it aside because we don't need that right now. And I have my cardstock circle. I have my fabric with my freezer paper pattern on it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna work from the front side, and I'm gonna do a basting stitch all the way around. And we want to do a basting stitch that is fairly tiny because we want to gather this up a lot. So we're going to baste around everything. Let me see if I can. So I fold the fabric onto the needle. I use my thimble to hold the needle so it doesn't get pushed back as I fold the fabric on. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, I'm off camera, sorry. I fold the fabric onto it. There we go. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done a circle, so I'm always slow when I start up, but once I get the rhythm, it goes pretty fast. Now, I need the freezer paper on the top part of this, even though we're putting, and the reason is because I want that freezer paper there to be able to see through the easy pattern overlay. And if I don't, I find that if I don't have the freezer paper there, I'm not seeing, I can't see how it's lining up with the pattern and everything. Now we do our basting stitches. What I'd like to do is I like to prep my circles not ahead of time, but when I need them. And what I do is I'll use a matching thread to do the basting, and then once I tie it up, I don't cut that thread off. I plop it down on where I want to sew it, and then, and this looks like, there we go. So now I'm going to take my freezer paper and I'm going to line it fairly good. Not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just going to pull this around the freezer paper. This is one of the reasons why we take such small stitches, because we want to be able to get that tight. Now I'm just going to take a stitch because I want to stabilize this. I don't want this coming undone on me. Okay, now you can, at this point you can hit this with an iron. I do not have an iron available today, so I'm just going to finger press a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to plant my needle off. I have not cut the thread off. I do not want to cut the thread off. I'm going to line my flower up and I'm going to slide And see, if I did not have that freezer paper, still on, it would be hard to see through this to make sure that you line up. So that looks good. And of course I'm going to come in and I'm going to check here to make sure all my raw edges are lined up. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to get rid of this thread. I'm going to slide this end, my knot end, underneath. And then I'm going to go ahead, and I don't bother putting a pin in because with the cardstock and everything it's kind of hard. Now I'm just going to slide, there's my thread. There's my thread. And I want to start inside of the piece. I want to get it ready to go. And then I'm just going to go in and applique this down. Oopity. My thread's giving me problems. Okay, so then you're going to sew around. Do not close it completely up. You have to get that cardstock out. So you're going to sew around and leave a little small opening, and then you're going to go ahead and work the cardstock out. And I'm going to try to show that to you. I'm going to try to sew as fast as I can. And there we go. Now, you will be able to follow along, even though this is my last video and everything's been launched. So you can go ahead and follow along. You'll find them on my YouTube channel, Mad Moody Quilting Fabrics, or you can find it on my website. Each of the individual patterns, the pattern itself is free. Ow! I just stabbed my finger. You can find the pattern, this pattern, free on my website. If you want to see more of this kind of tutorial, leave a comment below to let me know, or you can subscribe to the channel. And here we go. Now I just want to check to see that's not far enough around. I don't want a big hole. I don't want to leave a big space. And I'm trying not to grab the cardstock because I don't want to sew the cardstock in. So it's still not small enough. I'm about halfway around the circle. A couple more stitches and I think I'll be able to pull this cardstock out. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to plant my needle over to the side, and I'm going to, I don't need the freezer paper anymore, so I'm going to lift the freezer paper, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull. I don't want to break the thread of the basting threads. I don't want to cut off the sewing thread, but I need to get my cardstock out. And you're going to have to fuss, and I'm just going to try to, there we go. So I kind of fold it because I want to have one side of the tweezers on this side of the cardstock and the other side on the other side of the cardstock, because then I need to fold and twist. There we go. To bring it out. Okay, now we have to close this off. And it looks like a bit of a mess. Just take your fingers and kind of work it. And that looks pretty, it's not perfect, but hey, I don't believe in perfection. I believe in finish. And these are appliques, so it doesn't have to be perfect. If you had hit it with an iron, you would have gotten a better crisp thing to fold back under. Then, so I do recommend that you, if you want that circle to look a little bit more crisper, then I recommend that you hit it with an iron before you sew it down. And then this way you'll have a crisp line to fold under after you take your cardstock out. So I'm just going to close this off now. And again, underneath, so we don't see the knots on the right side of the work. And I'm just going to do one more. Go through the loop, if I can find it. And here we are. So continue. I'm just going to now explain. I'm not going to finish the work. I'll do that off camera. And then we'll be posting pictures of this. So you will this is our last lesson. So you will continue finishing this flower. Let me just oh, wrong way. There we go. You will finish this flower and put your circle on just the same way as we've done this, making sure that when you sew these down, you don't have to sew the whole all the way around. You might want to start about here and work. So you want to start on these pieces where the knot will be covered with the circle. Okay, so you'd sew around, doing the points the way I just showed you, and do each of these and put the circle down the way I just showed you. And then your block is finished. You can take this off. I can't yet because I still have to finish this. But yeah, you can get quite a bit done. Now, you can do multiples of these blocks, sash them up, and put them into a quilt. That's your choice. This block is meant to be put on point. So to square these up on point, you will put triangles on every corner. Okay? What I'll do is I'll give you the math, the size square you would need to get 4 triangles to fit this block. I'll put that in the pattern. When you download everything, it will come together by email. Then you will want to put a border around this. Now I've mitered mine. You don't have to, but I've mitered mine. I'll make sure that you have enough fabric to miter them. And I will have this all written and put in with the free pattern on how to finish it. This finishes, my measurements will bring me to a 20 by 20 inch finished block. So you could turn this into a pillow. You don't have to do more than this one. You can turn it into a pillow. If you are interested in having more designs, then let me know and I'll try to do a couple of more designs that you can practice on and that are slightly different. I don't know if I'll be able to do that ASAP, but I will come up with some ideas and bring something together. So I hope that you will join in from the beginning, download the pattern, and go through the process to learn some applique work. These are small pieces, but they're not unbearably small. You are more than capable of doing this size. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's just curves and points and to do, and then there's soft curves. Like these are soft curves. This is a nice point. These are points, and this is a soft curve. Now, if you look closely, I don't have perfect points. They're not crisply done. They're done to my best capabilities, and I'm okay with that, because no flower in nature is perfect. So I hope you enjoyed this series of videos on how to applique. Please check my website out, madmoodyquiltingfabrics.com, for the free pattern, and follow me on YouTube if you want to see more of these videos. Please subscribe. If you want to do have more of these appliques to be available to you, please let me know by either leaving a message or a comment or emailing me and saying that you're interested to see some more appliques. You will find some other free patterns. I have just uploaded some paper piecing, foundation paper piecing videos, not videos, but patterns, free patterns of little tiny houses and little tiny trees that fit together. I'm hoping to add to that series of blocks that you can put them all together. I'm hoping to maybe do double-decker houses or some buildings or something shortly. And this series is just starting, so I might be adding more if there's a demand and an interest to see more of these appliques, these one block applique patterns that I will have for free. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we will talk again shortly. And enjoy, and let me know what you think. Happy sewing. See you next time. Have a great day.